for joining me today.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. Let's start. Just introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
Okay, my name is Cher Mason. I am the president of Local 575, which are the Los Angeles Superior Court Clerks and Paralegals. And I just retired from court service about 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Look, we're all trying to get there. We're all trying to get to where you are.
Yes.
So how long have you worked for the courts?
31 and a half years.
Wow.
It was one of those jobs that I said, I'm taking this for 5 years and I'm moving on. Didn't work.
Oh my God.
It didn't work.
Oh Lord. So what is your typical duties that you do while you were at work, I guess?
Well, court clerks basically run the courtroom for the judge. We manage the calendar, the law in motion documents.
Okay.
We are the liaisons between the judge and everybody else in the courtroom, between the attorneys and parties and witnesses. During trials, we are the custodians of the exhibits. We handle all the exhibits. Mm-hmm. We swear the witnesses in. We're basically the managers of the courtroom.
Hmm.
And for me, the trial part of it was the most exciting.
Oh,
that
I can imagine. I'm sure you've been in some interesting courtrooms, I'm sure.
Yes.
So how did you get started at your job? How did you end up in your position?
Well, I used to work in the private industry for a company that bartered airline stock.
Oh.
They were a small private company, bought and sold airline stock, would sell it in the massive accounts to a major company like Johnson & Johnson would buy $100,000 worth of American airline tickets, and you'd set their executives up. Well, the boss started dealing with some of the frequent flyer mileage accounts because back then there were no restrictions on them. The airlines didn't like that, so they started to sue him, and I was the comptroller, so I was the one that went to court.
Oh, okay.
I would take the books, all the accounts receivable, payable, all that stuff, sit there in court, started to just fall in love with it. Wow. And when he decided about maybe 6 or 8 months after doing that, he decided he was going to just shut down. I asked for a recommendation letter to the courts. I applied. It takes about 6 months to a year to get hired. And that was it. Started my 31 and a half years.
That is actually a pretty awesome story. So what are some of your fondest moments from the courtroom?
Oh, wow.
Ones you can talk about. I know you're probably sworn to secrecy for a few.
Yeah, some of that stuff is confidential, but I did spend most of my career in a civil courtroom. We do float, so when other clerks are out or other jurisdictions need a clerk, you do get floated around. So I have some experience in criminal, family law. I did probate for about 2 days.
Okay.
But mostly it was civil. Civil was very interesting to me because even though the other clerks, we have a reputation for being boring because, you're just fighting over money. That's all it is. A lot of the cases had an extremely interesting background to them. And that's what you get to hear during trial and during motion argument and stuff. So it was very interesting. Boy, my fondest memories have to do with the judges. Just developing that relationship with your judge and getting to be in chambers in private, pick their brain, get a more in-depth view of where they're coming from with their rulings and stuff. But we had a lot of fun cases.
I can only imagine. So do you know when 575 was created?
I believe I do. So when I first started, we were part of the California Court Clerks Association.
Okay.
And I started in 91 in municipal court. So I believe it was around 1994 or 1995 when the Court Clerks Association became Local 575.
Okay. And did you join immediately?
I didn't because there was a strike in 1997, and I had just started as a judicial assistant in late 1996. And when they went on strike, I was on probation. the whole issue with that strike was that they hadn't received a pay raise in 7 years. And I used to think to myself, like, what are you doing? How can you belong to a union and you haven't gotten a raise for 7 years? Like, what's the union doing? Come on, they're sitting on their hands, right? Mm-hmm. So I did start to go to a couple of meetings to try and find out what was going on with the strike and the contract. And I remember being at a meeting one time, and I had filled out the membership card, but I didn't feel like I had gotten many answers. So I told the president at that time, her name was, well, I'll skip that.
Okay.
And I just held my card up in the air and I said, I need you to talk this out of my hand. Explain to me why I should turn this over. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of e-board members and her who gave me some really good answers. And by the end of the meeting, I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm in. And that was maybe a year into me being a clerk. And then shortly after getting a courtroom assignment, I was accused of not doing part of my job by one of the other staff members. Mm. And it wasn't my job, it was the calendar clerks. So we had a meeting over that. I had a union rep from Local 575 with me, and I just thought, damn, this is pretty cool. And that was it. I was sold.
Oh, wow. So is that when you started to become more active and then take over like more of a leadership role?
Yes, that's when I started to attend meetings regularly, had a lot more questions about the board. What were they doing? Where does our contract stand? What are you guys doing about, the little things around the courthouse that are a problem? Mm-hmm. Do you address those too? Is it just the big things? Yeah, and it really just sucked me in. And shortly thereafter, I was a steward.
Awesome.
Became a steward.
So you are in my opinion, a little different than some of our other leaders, right? Before you became a board member for the council, you were always at the council 36 board members. And there are not many leaders or just non-leaders who are just members that show up to the council 36 board meetings.
True.
But you were always there. Always. And so what made you say this is important? Because it is important, right? Mm-hmm. To show up to these meetings before let's say things happen, and then you have other members who show up and like, what's going on after it already happens?
Yes.
So what made you decide to, I'm going to be a leader, so I'm going to go all the way in and do your role, right? Attending these meetings because they are important.
Well, and I appreciate you acknowledging that. I did attend many, many council meetings, and I was the only person sitting in the audience.
The only non-board member there. Yep.
I believe I went to those meetings for maybe 18 to 20 years. And I think it's the middle child Libra in me. So I have an older sister and brother and a younger sister and brother. I'm right on those scales, right? I really just need the global picture in my life. I need to know, that silly little folklore thing about if a butterfly flaps its wings in China, does a ship sink in Alaska kind of thing. And that's me. I want to know. Mm-hmm. So I started coming to the council because I was hearing at meetings, well, the council decided this, or the council board is doing that or doing this. It's like, okay, who's this council? Right? I need to see them. And that's what started me going to the meetings. But I do just need to know, how do we all affect each other? What's the network here? And I do think it's part of that scale system in my brain that I need to know both sides. I need to know where things are going because that's the easiest way to keep things even.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully more people will actually do that because it is very important.
Yeah.
So what has the union meant to you throughout your time with the courts?
Well, it truly means everything. I know that's the cheesiest answer I could give you. Oh, it's my whole life. It means everything. But it's true. I was a single mom. I did not anticipate getting divorced and found myself divorced when my daughters were 4 and 7. All of a sudden, I'm on my own in life, sitting there thinking, oh my God, what do I do next, right? Not only having the responsibility of them, but now I've also lost half the income to the household. Mm-hmm. And getting this job, it was right after my oldest one, Phoenix, was born. She was born in 89. I started with the courts in 91. And all of a sudden, I have access to putting into a retirement fund. Right. And, if you stick around for 25 years, you get the medical benefits. You can challenge somebody on discipline and speak up for yourself. And it was all those things coming into play where, when that 5-year mark hit that I thought I was leaving, I was like, no, you know what? This is what I need in life. This is what my girls need. Mm-hmm. This is the best path for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are some of your fondest memories of being a union member?
There's a lot of those too. I think maybe one of my most favorite is in 2005, Arnold Schwarzenegger had put 8 propositions on the ballot, and I believe like 6 of them had an effect on working class people.
Okay.
We did an entire rally, big massive rally in Pershing Square to collect signatures on postcards to drop off in the governor's office. We were going to make a trip up there, and all the unions were involved. All the AFSCME Locals, SEIU was out there. At the courts, we have the interpreters, which I believe are CWA. We're all out there signing cards. And I have a couple of amazing pictures of my oldest daughter, who's only like 13 or 14, approaching people in Pershing Square to get cards signed. And then we had bags of cards. We took them up to Sacramento. All of us were in line outside the governor's office to drop them off, and they said, no, you're not coming in. Like, you can just leave them somewhere. So my daughters are outside the governor's door, and his wife spots them. So, oh, they're so cute. Oh, look at these little girls. And they wound up getting into the governor's office, and my daughters took the bags of postcards and dropped them off on a desk that was in there. And we just thought, oh my God, that was just so amazing. Like the 2 little cuties in the crowd, like, okay, sneak in there, drop off the postcards. So that to me is like one of the sweetest, funniest memories. But on another trip to Sacramento, there was a huge crowd, and we needed to buy some time, and somebody came running up to me, and they're like, can you talk on the steps about the court?
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh my God. And you freak out for a couple seconds, and I was like, no, you know what? I got this. Got on the steps of the Capitol with a crowd of over 1,000 people, and got to speak about our issues. I thought, oh, wow, that was really cool. I never, ever expected that. But a lot of small things, too, like even getting policies changed at the court, getting procedures changed, streamlining, documents that parties and witnesses fill out that are judicial council forms, getting them to edit those. A lot of little things.
Yeah, so you've been involved in a lot, and I know for Local 575, you've been obviously a part of their negotiations for a very long time. What are some of your favorite wins, if you can think of any?
My favorite is the one we just got.
Great segue. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny because every contract it was like, wow, we did really good. We got a great one. And then the next one is like, ooh, we just outdid the last one. So yeah, this one is absolutely the best we've gotten. We negotiated a very sizable bonus for, I believe, about 88% of our unit. The other percentage is not cut out. They're just newer members. They have a smaller amount, but it's still like the biggest bonus we've ever negotiated. It's the best percentage we've gotten. We have a 2-year contract right now. So I'm really proud of that. And I do have to give some credit to, I believe, our new executive clerk. Okay. His name is David Slayton. We started negotiations in June of last year, and we were still under the old regime of Sherry Carter. And she was with the court for 9 years, and she was very, very adamant about things are going to go the way I want them, or they're not going to go at all. It was my way or the highway. And we definitely noticed a change in negotiations. She retired in December, when we went from December to January. And now getting this bonus for our folks, we finally feel like, okay, we've been acknowledged now for the amount of work that we do. Because we literally run the courtroom. Yeah. Run it from top to bottom. It's a huge responsibility, and we're finally getting some acknowledgement for that. So it's nice.
Okay. Do you want to tell them the amount, or no? You want to keep that?
We haven't ratified yet, so I won't.
Okay.
I won't make it public yet, but yes, it is a very, very nice bonus. People, we've got a couple members that we know are looking at foreclosure. It's enough money that it can potentially save a house, pay off a couple credit cards, do a really nice vacation.
Yeah. Good for them. Good for you guys, because that's
I'm so glad for our group. I'm so glad because everybody works so hard. It's unbelievable the stuff that we're expected to do.
Right.
It's really, if I were to start telling stories about some of them, you'd think I was exaggerating. It's crazy.
Oh no, we've heard from other members. You would think, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
And it absolutely is. I know right now there's like a worker shortage, right?
Yes.
So a lot of members are taking on a lot more than they should be, and a lot of them it's a struggle, right? Because you take on all this extra work at work, and then you go home, and it's like it doesn't feel like home anymore because you just are so stressed out because of your job.
Yeah, and my heart goes out especially to our family law and probate and our criminal clerks, because I do know some of them have called me at 10, 11 o'clock at night, practically in tears, sometimes actually in tears, and they're like, oh my God, Cher, I think I forgot to recall a warrant. And that's suspension discipline immediately. Things like that where you definitely take it home. It can be scary sometimes. They're laying in bed at night thinking, oh my God, I'm going to walk in tomorrow and I'm going to get fired.
Right.
Yeah.
Luckily they have a union.
Yes.
So my last question to you is, what's next? You're retired. What's next for you?
Well, I'm not leaving the union work because I definitely have a passion that I feel about this. I know I'm a personality that will step into something. I've even been in the grocery store before and stepped in between somebody, and a security guard or a checker or whatever. I'm like, wait a second, what did you just say to them? That was inappropriate. Where's your manager? I am that kind of person. So I am absolutely going to continue working for Local 575. I'm going to take on a lot of the representative responsibilities because I've been doing all the grievance hearings and the skellies. But at the last international convention, I introduced myself to the council rep from Illinois and the one from Missouri because my oldest daughter works for the state courts in Illinois, and my youngest daughter is at Missouri School for the Deaf in Fulton, Missouri. And talking to their reps, I found out that neither one of them are represented.
Wow.
So my biggest concern right now are the Missouri teachers.
Okay.
So I told them they've got a good shop steward if you get in touch with my youngest daughter. But I would like to start working for those councils and seeing if I can get involved in organizing projects or, whatever's out there. I'd be willing to do it because I don't want to stop.
No, I hope you don't.
I don't want to stop.
Yeah, that's great to hear. You're a natural at this, right? A natural leader, a natural organizer.
Oh, thank you.
Whatever you get involved in, they'll be happy to have you because, we need fierce union people like you all around. So I thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. This
course.
This was really sweet of you.
Oh, of course. And I'm happy to share your story with everybody. When I heard you were retiring, I was like, oh, that'll be amazing because I know you have such a long history with the union. So people need to hear it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.